Jordan and welcome to the offices of the Richmond Sentinel. Today we're going to be meeting the candidates running in all 4 ridings of this city. We have sent invitations out to all the candidates. That is coming up very soon. We're also going to be talking to some of the people about what we're doing here today, and including my first guest, who is the Director of Operations here at the Richmond Sentinel. It is Alan Chan. Alan, I'm in your office, so I won't welcome you, but thank you for welcoming me, and I welcome you to the set. Let's talk a bit about what people are going to see here today, because I think people are tired of the traditional finger pointing and all that, but what do we want to do here today?
Yeah, in the past couple of weeks, we see a lot of debates. We see candidates pointing at each other, telling us what the other candidates are not doing. But today we want to listen to the candidates themselves, who they really are and what they stand for their city, and some of their vision for this city as a whole. So that's some of the things that we're going to see today.
I think you and I were talking, we're mentioning that it's going to be good to get the people one-on-one, just to find out, because I think sometimes people may not know of the candidates, or may know very little. So this is going to be our chance for our viewers to find out about the people that are running. We should also say that we've decided that we're going to ask the same 3 questions of everyone. So there'll be no favoritism, nobody saying that, oh, they got asked a harder question or they were soft on this person. Same 3 questions. Tell us who you are. Tell us why you're running, and what's your vision going forward if you're elected. That will be it. Let's talk a little bit too about where people can see all this that we're doing now.
Yep, you can see all these on our Sentinel website, our YouTube channel, and as well as on our Instagram.
Very nice. It's Alan Chan. He's the Director of Operations for the Richmond Sentinel here in Richmond. We are going to get to our first candidate right now. Well, our first candidate for a Q&A is a familiar face. He is the incumbent Liberal from Richmond, Queensborough. Jas Johal joins us. Jas, good to see you again.
You too.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for joining us here today. Okay, as we mentioned at the beginning, we're asking everybody the same 3 questions. I will pose the first one to you, and that, of course, is tell our viewers a bit about yourself.
Well, I am running for re-election, and it's been an absolute pleasure the last 3 years running as representing this region in the legislature. You know, about myself, really, I'm an immigrant to this country. I came at a very young age. I was 2 years old, and in my formative years, like many immigrants, I struggled with English. And my story is that I used to get pulled out of class, and I worked hard on speaking and learning like most immigrants do. Yet I made a living off words for 23 years as a journalist.
That's
right? And that speaks to great parents, speaks to a country that provided services for me, whether it be that extra teacher who provided help, the hospitals that were there to take care of me. So this country has been very good to me for 25 years, and for me an opportunity to give back a little bit. I'm married. I have a son who is in grade 7. I've had a wonderful life and continue to have a wonderful life. And for me, running for public service was a route really just saying thank you to this great country of mine. And the reason I say that is, I've told you I struggle with English, making a living off words. That story didn't hit me until one day when I was a journalist covering the Arab Spring in Libya, and I managed to get into Muammar Gaddafi's house. And I had to remind myself and sort of look back at my own journey. How the heck does a kid from British Columbia and growing up in the interior in Williams Lake end up in Muammar Gaddafi's house? So I pulled out my pocket knife and I cut off a piece of Muammar Gaddafi chandelier. And I keep it at home in my bookshelf to remind me of my personal journey as an immigrant, and the journey of all of us have taken, whether we're immigrants or children of immigrants. And it's important for all of us to make sure we pay this forward, whether it's through volunteering in a community center or putting your name forward on public office. For me, that was very important to do. So that's what's motivated me to get here.
I tell you what, you answered the second part and the first part of my question about it yourself and why you're running. With the time we have left, let's talk a bit about going forward. As you said, you live here. What are you looking to do in Richmond? What do you think needs attention if you are re-elected?
Well, I think on the broader side, the concerns for Richmond are what the concerns for British Columbia are at this point, is getting through this pandemic. So health and safety, priority number 1, and making sure we get through this next spring and next fall. It's not going to end come the end of this year. This pandemic is here to stay for a while. The second challenge we have is the economy. People have to work. We're thinking at potentially 10 to 20,000 businesses may go under by the end of 2021, according to the Business Council of British Columbia. Getting those businesses open, staying open, and people working is priority number 1. In the Richmond area, that Massey crossing is priority number 1 for me. It's too much of a bottleneck. That stops moms and dads to make it to hockey practice, soccer practice, businesses who can't hire employees. You got London Drugs, a major employer, threatening to leave, take their head office and distribution center and move it because of the tunnel. Huge challenge for us. That acute care tower at the hospital has to be built. We have committed to whatever funding is required, whether it be 400 million or 500 million, we're going to pay for that as well. That's number 2. Housing affordability and affordability generally in the region is the big one for me as well. If you can't afford to live here, if employers can't afford to hire people who then can't afford to live here, it doesn't help. So increasing the supply of housing is a priority for this entire region, particularly for Richmond as well. And the 4th one is aspirational for me. You look at places like the Netherlands and Singapore, huge, huge changes in agriculture and how they're growing food. So the agri-tech industry itself is growing exponentially. And I think we can be world leaders right here in Richmond, and specifically Richmond East in my riding. And I think that's one of the focuses as well that I really want to push over the next few years.
He is the Liberal incumbent from Richmond, Queensborough, Jas Johal. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure as always.
Cheers.
Hi, my name is Linda McPhail. I'm a councillor with the City of Richmond. We have a provincial election coming up on October 24th. Make your voice heard. Please get out and vote.
Our next candidate is a Conservative from the Richmond-Queensborough riding. We welcome Kay Hale to the Richmond Sentinel. Kay, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. We appreciate you taking time to join us here today. As we've been doing with everybody, we're saying 3 questions. Your viewer is right there in that camera. You can tell them all about yourself and why you're running.
Hi. Thank you for taking the time. My name is Kay Hale. I've been a long-time resident in Richmond, British Columbia, say 40 years. And when I came, things were different, and definitely today things are very different. Even, you know, like if you look at the demographic and our landscape, it's all changed. However, the reason I'm running is 2020 has been a very challenging year for us so far. And along with those challenges outside of the pandemic, we are now facing in a more extreme urgency mental health issue, homelessness issue. Businesses are suffering, small businesses, and parents are worried about their children going to school and what they are going to bring home. So these are the issues that we need to address in the legislature and work with the 3 levels of the government. Currently, we have three parties in the legislature, but I think going forward, it will be beneficial to a British Columbian, Canadian as such, fellow human being, that if we have a balanced government, and that way we can work in coordination with getting the needs and the wants of the general public addressed.
Okay, can you talk about some of the other things that you look around your neighborhood, your city, and you see wanting to change? Give us a little sense of your vision going forward if elected.
When I look around the neighborhood, first thing that comes to mind here in Richmond, is we see a lot of high-rises, lots and lots, empty. And yet, when we turn around and look the other way, we see a lot of homeless people. We see people are seeking affordable housing. And although our local government is doing its best in securing affordable housing with the developers, like 1 in every 5 unit, I think, goes to the affordable housing, which is all good. But I think that here in British Columbia, if we work with all the 3 levels of government and take 1% of the Crown land, and we have those affordable housing or low-cost housing built. And also maybe we should bring back co-op housing. So that is the first thing that really hits me right now because of COVID-19. People has been kind of locked up in their homes, a lot of family disturbance, a lot of violence at home, and people are made homeless. And also because of the housing prices that are going up, people that are renting are pushed out of their homes, and they're literally living in cars, no place to go because they can't afford to rent the next place. So homelessness right now here and I can only speak for Richmond, and of course British Columbia is a big issue.
Kay Hale is the Conservative candidate for Richmond, Queensborough. Kay, thank you for joining us and talking a bit about yourself and those things that are most important to you. We appreciate you joining us. Our next candidate joining us on the Richmond Sentinel Q&A is a representative for the Green Party in the Richmond-Queensborough region. It's EARL EINARSON. And Earl, we thank you for taking time to join us today.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome, sir. As we've been saying to everybody, and our viewers watching know this, we're asking the same 3 questions. So I'll ask you the first one, which is tell us a bit about yourself.
I will. I've made some notes. I'm going to speak plainly, though. So my name is EARL EINARSON. I actually went to high school here in Richmond. And I came back and I raised my son. He just graduated, so we went through elementary and all the way through high school, and now he's into college. And I have to tell you that I am deeply involved in this community and where we're heading. It's really important to me that we build a sustainable, ecologically sound future for our kids. I have 2 sons, but my son just graduated. I'm really aware of him and young people and their concept of where the world is heading. So I really wanted to personally involve myself so that rather than just talk to the camera or talk to the TV and talk to my monitor, I wanted to step forward and bring my voice into the public forum and be able to ensure that my voice was speaking for my sons and his generations and the generations after, and daughters also, so everybody moving forward. And it's also grounded in my work. So I'm an Indigenous person. I'm from Ktunaxa, which is up near Cranbrook in BC. That's where my band is, but I'm from Vancouver and from Richmond. And it was just really important for us. When we think about Indigenous thought, we think 7 generations forward. We think 7 generations back, 7 generations forward. And a lot of times in political stances, I don't see that. I don't see the view which is further than 4 years or perhaps 8 years, but I don't see a large view looking forward, and that's really why I'm here. I want to build a future which we'll be proud of leaving for our sons and daughters, next generations.
You've answered both the parts of the question I was going to ask you about, asking about yourself and why you're running, but in the last question we have for you is to talk a bit more about going forward, expand on what you just discussed as if you are the nominee and the winner of this riding.
I think it's, so first off, my loyalties lie to Richmond, Queensborough. It's a really diverse area. It's a unique area. There's agriculture, there's small businesses here, they thrive here. There's farmland, there is commercial land, there are so many people living diverse lifestyles. So I think it's really important to build all of that into a forward-looking future. I'm POC as its termed, person of color. I just find that all the diversity within Richmond is a strong point. That's our strength. That's where it all comes from. So I think we need to ensure that nobody gets left behind when we build forward into the future. This pandemic is absolutely taking things off the rails, as you know, for so many small businesses. Even large businesses, just people are having a hard time, and education is suffering from it. I work in post-secondary education myself, and that's my background. My studies are in andragogical theory. It's post-secondary adult learning theory. So all of these pieces have kind of come off the rails lately, and we need to, if we're going to build forward from this pandemic, we can't be knee-jerk reactionary and just create things which are short-sighted and kind of bandage. We need to think larger. So for myself, the Greens align with this view for myself. The Greens are about looking forward and building future viewpoints which first off are inclusive. So the wide range of people here, we include everybody in. And it's also wide-ranging from young families all the way to seniors, and we need to build all that in. So it's a big view. I think it's a big undertaking, and I don't kid myself that it's a big thing to carry. But what I suggest is that I'm simply a voice for all the other people. My burden is to listen to people and carry what they want forward.
Okay, Earl, thank you. It's Earl EINARSON. He is the Green Party candidate in the Richmond Queensborough riding. Earl, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're taking another break from the Q&A with your candidates. We're joined by another member of the Richmond Sentinel. It is Wilson Miao. He is the Director of Communication and Marketing here at the paper. Welcome on set for us today.
Thank you, Jim.
You're quite welcome. Well, let's hope that people are getting the information they need on the candidates, but you're here to give some information on voting, which is very important. Take it away.
Yes. So all the residents in Richmond should be receiving a ballot in your mail. This ballot allows you to vote on October 24th. However, you can also go to your closest advanced voting station to cast your vote earlier. Be sure to make your vote because it is a privilege to be a citizen of British Columbia to be participating in this voting election. Furthermore, Richmond Sentinel have the honor to cover all our candidates for this upcoming BC election. You'll be able to find all their biography and information in this issue. If you don't have a chance to get this hard copy, be sure to check out our website, richmondsentinel.ca, and /additions to look for this edition online.
That's great information. Of course, you're getting the information here, but you can also get additional information, as Wilson said, in the Richmond Sentinel. Another reason why it's always important to have local newspapers. And yeah, any more information you can find in the newspaper. We're going to get right back to the candidates. It's been Wilson Miao. He is the Director of Marketing Communications here at the Richmond Sentinel. More Q&A right now.
Thank you.
Our next candidate joining us for a Q&A is AMAN SINGH. He's the NDP candidate for Richmond, Queensborough. AMAN, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You're quite welcome, sir. We appreciate all you candidates coming in because it's a busy time right now. We've got the 3 questions. We're asking everybody the same 3 questions. So we'll start with you with, tell us a bit about yourself.
Aman Singh is my name, of course. Richmond, Queensborough is quite a unique, diverse place, and I think I embody it in many ways. I was born in India, right? Moved to Hong Kong when I was under a year old.
Okay.
Lived in Hong Kong for 17 years. And then moved, I went off to university, and while I was there, my parents, like many other families from Hong Kong, moved from Hong Kong to Richmond in the late 80s. I've been a social advocate all my life, right? And I carried that on into my profession. I'm a lawyer, civil rights, human rights lawyer. And that's sort of what I've been doing. I've been advocating for people all my life, and that sort of puts me right here. This is sort of the next step in that.
Which leads me, if you can expand a little more on my next question, as you led me right into it beautifully, and that is why you're running.
I mean, that's, like I said, I've been an advocate for people all of my life, right? My parents, both wonderful people. My father, a small businessman, right, who carried himself up from nothing. He was, very, very poor to start with. Started off as a security guard and then started building a business, had a successful travel agency in Hong Kong and a cargo agency in Hong Kong. My mom was a math teacher, and throughout our lives, compassion was the thing that they taught us. They taught me and my brother that we have to be compassionate and we have to look out for people that are less fortunate than us. And I carried that into my advocacy right from the beginning, and it's sort of the main reason I became a lawyer. It's also very much part of my spirituality, service work towards others. I'm also a recovered alcoholic. I'm 10 years sober as of August. And it also forms a real strong principle within sobriety as well, is if I want to stay recovered and I want to stay the way that I am, I need to be of service to others. And so it's a natural progression to carry that on to Victoria, to be people's voice in Victoria.
Well, congratulations on the 10 years.
Thank you.
Your last question, should you win, let's talk about going forward, your vision for you in this riding.
I'm really proud to be running with the BC NDP. This government in the last 3.5 years has done an incredible job. I ran in the last election as well in 2017, and while we were campaigning, I visited the Richmond Hospital, and we called out. We brought John Horgan in. I showed him, me and the other candidates showed him the cracks in the building. The foundation took us down to the bottom of the building, where they were keeping patients. So, here's a building, here's an area that really needed dire care. Right. And really proud that the NDP government, right there and then made that a campaign promise, came back in 2018, promised to build a new acute care tower, and we're carrying through the business plan. So that's really my vision, is to continue on with the good work the NDP has been doing, especially in this time of a pandemic. This is not going away for the next little while, right? I have a new daughter, 1 year old, right? And I want to see a world for her that's safe, right, for her and all of her peers, and that's safe for my father. I live with my father. He's an elderly man. I take care of him. I want to see a world that's safe. So healthcare is really, really of prime importance to me, as well as education. Young daughter, I want her to be educated. My mom was a math teacher. Education was a real prime thing for us. So those are sort of my two big visions.
Aman, thank you for joining us today. As I said, I know you candidates are all very busy. It's Aman Singh. He's the NDP candidate for Richmond Queensborough. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Matt Picarin. He is the Liberal candidate for Richmond Steveston. We should also say he is the former president of the Richmond Chamber of Commerce. Matt, welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're quite welcome. I know you guys are busy, so we appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to our
my
viewers.
pleasure.
Good to have you. Okay, we're asking the same questions of everybody. We'll start with this one with you. Tell our viewers a bit about yourself.
Yeah, no, happy to. So I was born and raised in the village of Steveston. Have very fond memories. I was born on Hunt Street and later moved to Gary Street, just down the street from McMath, behind Lord Byng, where I went to elementary and high school. Have fond memories of running around the sports field in Steveston, running around Gary Point. Ditch jumping was one of my favorite pastimes when I was young. Only fell in a couple ditches.
Okay.
My first job was at Rod's Building Supplies. Later worked at the Seafair Rogers Video. Probably one of the most fun jobs I've ever had.
Yeah.
Back in the video store days.
I was going to say, back when video stores were
When
around,
everybody, you wanted to watch something, you went to the video store, and that Rogers Video served all of West Richmond, and it was an amazing place to work. Great team.
So you really have some fond memories of this neighborhood, of this area. Let's talk a bit about why you're running.
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I have two parts to that answer. One, I have a young family. I have 3 children at home. I have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 3-month-old, and really concerned about the future that they're going to inherit. And I feel it's my duty to put my name forward and try and make this the best possible world for them to inherit. But more recently, since March, when COVID has taken over the world, forced lockdowns on businesses across the globe, I've seen the impact and I've seen the damage that it's had in Richmond and beyond. And I feel it's my duty to take my insight, the knowledge that I gained working at the Chamber, serving 1,000 members, 14,000 Richmond businesses, to take that insight to Victoria and do everything I can to support these small businesses.
Okay. Let's talk a bit about your vision going forward. As you mentioned, it has been an unprecedented year in terms of what's been happening. If you win, what do you see, what do you envision for your riding in the city of Richmond?
So Richmond is a special place. We are one of the most diverse cities, not only in Canada, but in the globe. And there's a lot to be proud of, there's a lot to celebrate, and I think we can do a lot better celebrating the amazing diversity, people, businesses that we have here in our community. More policy focused, what I'm very focused on in my riding, there was a facility called Lions Manor that was torn down in 2015 with a promise to be rebuilt. I'm very committed to bringing that seniors care facility back to Steveston. More broadly on Lulu Island, I'm very committed to seeing the acute care tower at the Richmond Hospital replaced on the fastest timeline possible, and the George Massey corridor desperately needs to be replaced. That was the #1 issue in my 8 years at the Richmond Chamber of Commerce. It's preventing employees from coming here, it's deterring some from continuing to work here, and we need to get that corridor fixed as soon as possible.
Matt Picarin is the Liberal candidate for Richmond Steveston. We should also mention the former president of the Richmond Chamber of Commerce. Matt, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
So our next candidate is Kelly Green. She's the NDP candidate for Richmond Steveston. She is also a councillor for the city of Richmond. Kelly, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
You're quite welcome. As I've been saying throughout this event, we know you're all busy, so we appreciate your time coming in. Kelly, we're asking everybody the same questions. We'll start with the first one for you, and that is for our viewers out there. Tell us about yourself.
Born and raised in Richmond. I'm raising my family here. We've got 3 kids, and my husband and I, we live in the riding, which I think is really great because then we really understand the issues that are facing residents. My foray into politics started because of the community. We were facing school closures from the BC Liberals. And the more that I looked into it, the more outrageous it really was. There was not support in all of the documents to come to that conclusion that we had to force schools to close, that we wouldn't seismically upgrade them. And so I helped lead a community response against that, and we were successful, which I'm really excited about, because now those schools are being fixed. So my start was advocacy. And I'm very happy to be able to continue that on City Council to make sure that people are being heard.
Talk a bit more then about your reasons for running. This is a good start, obviously, in what you're doing now. You take that experience and moving to this next election, and give us more detail about why you want to run.
Well, I really feel I feel a lot of deep responsibility to the people that have entrusted me with the things that we need to change. When we need to make improvements in the community, people have supported me and lifted me up so that I can be heard and make those changes. And so to me, I'm just giving back. This is me trying to do the best I can for the community, whether that's working on affordability and stopping money laundering and speculation, or getting the schools fixed up, or just even at the city, just little things, like making sure, you know, the crosswalk is repainted and the stop sign is replenished. You know, it's about ensuring that we have what we need in our community to be, just have a great future.
Let's expand on that a little more for your last question, and that is, if you win, what do you see your vision going forward for your riding and for the City of Richmond?
Well, what I would like to see is when we put people first, and that we're not going to be putting the very top of society, the people that are making the most money. We're not prioritizing the well-being of the people who don't need the extra help. I want to make sure that we're making decisions for everyday people in Richmond. So I would like to make sure that we get that hospital finished. We have the RFPs out, the request for proposals. So the contracts are going forward. It's on track. Making sure we get that to completion on time. That's really important for me. That's the hospital we go to when we need help, right? So making sure that that's happening, making sure that we're keeping the schools on track. We've had 8 fixed. We've got a lot more to do, keeping those on track, making sure that when we're looking at our community, when we're supporting small businesses, is we're making decisions locally, that we're not prioritizing somebody else's interests in other places. This is my community, and I am so proud of how we've come together in COVID, and I know that we can continue to come together to make the future better for everybody.
She is Kelly Greene, the NDP candidate for Richmond Steveston. She's also a councillor here in the City of Richmond. Kelly, thank you for taking some time on a busy campaign to talk to us today.
Thanks so much.
Well, we are taking a break from the candidate Q&As. We hope you are enjoying this presentation from the Richmond Sentinel newspaper. My next guest, who clearly is not here, he's very busy at this time of the year. We'll tell you who he is in a second. He is joining us via Skype. It is Michael Coheen. He is the BC District Electoral Officer for Richmond, Queensborough. Michael, thank you for joining us. I mentioned it's a busy time for you right now. For our viewers out there, tell them a little bit about what you do.
Thank you, Jim. My responsibilities include financial management, budgeting, hiring of key personnel, validating candidate nominations, preparing ballots and distribution, establishing voting places, and ensuring we all have well-trained voting officers, particularly observing the COVID-19 protocol. We reach out to site voting areas such as acute care and long-term care facilities and shelters. If necessary, our voting officers will go bed to bed, and also we will offer curbside voting to those who have accessibility issues or express any COVID symptoms. I ensure the integrity of the vote by encouraging the candidates' representatives to observe at all voting places.
And last question, Michael, for our viewers out there that may have questions about voting, can you please tell them where they can go to find answers to their questions?
Thanks, Jim. Electors can vote by mail or in person at advanced polling places and, of course, on general voting day. The advanced polls opened at 8 a.m. on October the 15th and will close at 8 p.m. daily. Advanced voting will run for 7 days until October 21st, instead of 6 days that we had in the previous provincial election. For mail-in ballots, they must be received by 8 p.m. on general voting day, Saturday, October the 24th. For more information, kindly visit elections.bc.ca. Please vote. It's your right.
Michael, thank you for joining us. That's Michael Coheen. He is the BC District Electoral Officer for Richmond, Queensborough. Great to have him on with his insights. Okay, let's get back to more Q&A with our candidates. Our next candidate is Vince Lee. He is an independent from the Richmond, Steveston area. Vince, thank you for joining us. As we've been saying to everybody, I know it's a busy time campaigning, so we appreciate your time here at the office of the Richmond Sentinel today. Okay, as we've been doing with everybody, and we're going to start with you with this first question, tell our viewers a bit about yourself.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Thank you for inviting me to do this, because I think it's a really good opportunity for people to actually know me, because I don't have any signs or flyers anywhere. So if you think I'm not running, that's not true. I just don't do that. The reason is, first, I do not accept any donations, because I think people are already in a really hardship financially. So I don't really accept donations for my campaign. And so in that case, I'm not printing any flyers or signs. And another reason is it's COVID. I do not want to get more people just knocking doors around and handing out flyers. And it's not good for environmental too. So a little bit about myself. My name is Vince. I'm a new immigrant. I'm a father with 2 kids. I've been in Richmond for the past over 10 years. So I studied in University of British Columbia, Southern School of Commerce. So after that, I worked here for the past 8-10 years. Then my key thing is education. I've been doing education from infant toddler all the way to postgraduate. So I think what I'm able to do is in the education part and as an immigrant.
Leads really into my next question about why you're running. Is education a big part of that?
Yes, exactly. So as an educational person, I've been doing this for a long time, and I know there's, in Richmond, it's good in public system, but there's still things that could be improved. I can see a lot of people that driving to Vancouver or to Delta or to even Surrey to go to school. So I try to improve the education system in Richmond to help people to stay in Richmond so they can go to good schools. So, long term is good for the community anyways. Another thing that the reason I'm trying to run is, for me, I'm an ordinary person. I'm not like a Kelly or Matt. They have tons of years of experience in political, but for me, I'm a new, regular person. I've been working till pandemic, and then during pandemic, I had to quit my job because my second son was born during pandemic. Okay. So I know a lot of people has to stay home during pandemic too, so I know how it feels. And I have business in Richmond too, and it's been struggling. Everybody is struggling here. Sure. So I know exactly how people feel. So I never done anything political, so if I think I'm able to do this, I can put myself forward to show people that you need to actually try to, especially during this difficult time, you need to actually keep trying. And then if I'm able to do that, people are gonna survive the pandemic.
Let's talk about should you win in the area of Richmond Steveston. Can you talk a little bit more as we wrap things up of your vision for your riding and the city of Richmond? Okay,
there's quite a bit of issues in Richmond or overseas in BC. The first thing is COVID part. I think what we should learn from this pandemic is it's a global pandemic. So we actually need to look at the other countries who are doing better. Just for example, Singapore, they're doing quite well, relatively. So we need to actually learn how they are doing that and then implement them to Richmond, to BC. And then another thing is small business. Everybody is suffering, and we actually need to step up to figure out the way suitable for BC. You can't just say, oh, everybody is doing the same, cut tax or just pay people money to stay home. That's not gonna work in the long term. You don't have that much money to spare. So you actually need to figure out how to let people go back to work and recover the economy. Another thing is daycare. Daycare, I've been running a daycare myself. I'm trying to, my casing is trying to integrate the daycare into public system. So I think it's really important to people. You're gonna actually help people to to not waiting for a long time to get into daycare, and it's such a burden to pay daycares. So if we're able to do that, that's going to be a huge help for everybody in Richmond.
Vince Lee is the independent for Richmond Steveston. We appreciate you coming in, Vince, and wishing you the best of luck.
Thanks a lot.
You bet. Our next candidate is Vernon Wang. He's with the Green Party. He's the candidate for that party for Richmond North Centre. Vernon, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. Yeah.
You're quite welcome. We appreciate all you candidates taking the time. It's a busy time for you all, so we appreciate you being here at the offices of the Richmond Sentinel. Okay, asking everybody the same 3 questions. We will start with the first one for you. Tell our viewers out there a little bit more about Vernon Wang.
My name is Vernon Wang. Everyone know that. My background, 16 years ago, I landed here as a new immigrant, Richmond here. And in the past 16 years in Canada, I treat Canada, that's my hometown, my second hometown here, and what's my experience locally. We can summarize the 3 words and even the 3 alphabet. That's the S. 3S. What's the 3S? I got my Bachelor of Science degree on the nutrition. That's the evidence-based work. And then I moved to, some problem I can't fix just the evidence-based. I found that that's behind the quantitative, that's qualitative issue. So I know that's how to engage the people around you. That's the community work and some social work there. Second S, society. I moved to second S, society. I try to use the different lens, cultural lens, education lens, and even the language lens, and even the cuisine, the food lens. I use different lens. Try to solve all the problem, but it's not cover everything. Still problem here. I feel the puzzle, so I moved to my second path. We can say second phase of my study. I continued my master's degree in SFU, Public Health Science. What we can learn, not just the society, not just the evidence science, some loss of the policy. It touch on the politics. So right now move me here, that's we call it the third phase. I say the 3S for me. We're looking for what? I'm looking for the systematic change. That's the system. So my experience here locally, science, society, and the system. 3S stand for me. So my brief story here. Thanks, yeah.
Well, let's talk about why you're running.
Why I'm running? It's a very good question. Very good question. I think that my answer should be exact match BC Green. The principle. Why I'm running for the BC Green Party in the Richmond North Centre. BC Green have the 6 principle, but it's too much detail. I don't give the very detail, just summarize why I'm here. Because 1, we call it that's democracy. BC Greens here, long time we have the A and B, Liberal and the NDP and the Liberal. That's the stories, always repeat. We need some different voice. Fresh air, different voice. We totally share their power, but what we can do, at least we can hold them accountable. It's important. It represents democracy here. More people participate, more voice here. We sit on the table, we have a stakeholder, more and more we can share the power and make some A and B responsibility. So that's my source, first one. Second, why? We heavily rely on our traditional industry. Long time. But post-pandemic, we still do that. Probably we have the new vision, new idea. We called New Green Deal. We need some kind of idea, but we can't rely on the A and B. I just mentioned the Liberal and the NDP. They're working on this new vision. Who is the leader? I think that for the future, BC Green, that should be the leader, give the new source, new idea. We call the Green New Deal. So I stand here running for the BC Green in the Richmond North Centre.
Let's talk. We got a few seconds left. Should you win the seat in Richmond North Centre, talk expand a bit more if you can with the seconds we have left, on your vision for your riding and this city.
Okay, that's a very good question. For me, if elect in the local, in Richmond North Center, and could be a little broad in the Richmond, city of Richmond. What I can do, my priority, couple of things. One, we must then Richmond Hospital. Second, Massey Tunnel. It doesn't matter what way we should do. We will use applied, but all this stuff project we must finish in the 4 years term. And what else? I think the small business, Richmond rely heavily on small business. We should give the very strong backup for small business in local. And the other thing, public health, should important. I want, if elect politicians money, the public, we always use the public funding for the private. It's unfair. We try to focus on the public education, focus on our fundings here. Last but not least, Green New Deal. What's the Green New Deal? We want public transit. We have the double and the triple funding for the public transportation, and even it could be the free for everyone. Yeah, because that's my Green New Deal.
Vernon Wang, you are the candidate for the Green Party here in Richmond North Centre. We thank you for joining us.
That's my pleasure. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Well, we're taking a little break from the discussions with the candidate, joined by a very familiar face who I've had the pleasure of talking to many times. His biography would take at least an hour to go through, but I'm going to go some of the highlights from Bill McNulty, councillor with the City of Richmond. Has lived in Richmond for close to 50 years, Richmond Council since '93. A lot of awards. You're involved in a lot of different things, sports related, everything. Bill McNulty, it's great to have you here to talk with us. Bill, as I said, you've lived here nearly 50 years. You've raised a family here. Tell us about your city. What do you want to see with the next party in power? What do you want to see done? Are there things that need attention? You know the landscape better than most.
Well, thank you very much, first of all, and thank you for what you're doing to get the word out with candidates. I think it's extremely important that many of the public really don't know the candidates, and they are very superficial. And I think you have to choose people by doing an in-depth study of them. And in my opinion, the number one thing is leadership and governance. And those are the kinds of things that every municipality would want. And you've got to look at it. Just to be on council, for example, isn't necessarily why you're going there for. You want to make a difference. You want to contribute. And that is extremely important. It's the same being an MLA or an MP. You want to be able to make a difference in the lives of the people. And in Richmond, we look forward to a government that will listen to us. We're at the grassroots, and will communicate with us. To that extent, it's extremely important. City Council hears more from the community than any other level of government. And we're also closer to them. We affect day-to-day lives of people. And in Richmond, we're looking at a new hospital, okay? And I brought that up on CBC way back in 2012, so it's not a new phenomenon. And you can take the 7 minutes on CBC to see that it was me alone standing out there and trying to get other members of the government. Unfortunately, we didn't get that kind of response from the sitting members of the government of the day to start saying Richmond needs a new tower. Okay, we need that. We need, when we come forward, Richmond Council has gone on record, 2 councils now in a row, saying we want a twin or quadruple the Massey Tunnel. We don't want a bridge because we know it'll affect our farmland, and you will have a bridge all the way down to Westminster Highway, and those kinds of things. But most importantly, it's very important that people not only study the candidates, but get out and vote. Whatever your persuasion is, that it's important that you cast the ballot. Many people, my father went overseas so we could continue to vote. As many fathers, many grandfathers, and others went overseas because many parts of the world can't vote. And there isn't the equality of in the world in terms of voting and in gender equality as well. So I'm hoping that people will really look at not necessarily just the party items in the checklist, but also what they can bring and propose. You know, I always used to say in education, there's no bad idea. It's just how you treat that idea and consider it. So I would encourage everybody to get out and vote, vote in the advance poll, and also, if not, vote on election day and watch the results, and congratulate and thank those that have stood for office.
Excellent advice from Bill McNulty, councillor for the City of Richmond since 1993. He will be watching the race closely. We'll have more commentary, but right now let's get back to the questions, the Q&A with our candidates. Okay, continuing with the Q&A with our candidates, we're joined now by the incumbent Liberal candidate, TERESA Watt from Richmond North Centre. TERESA, welcome back. We've interviewed you many times over the years.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. As we've been saying to all the candidates, we know how busy this time is just before the election, so thanks for joining us here in the office. Okay, same question for you. A bunch of questions that we asked everybody else. Let's start with question number one. TERESA, tell our viewers a bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, my name is TERESA Watt. I have been serving Richmond North Centre. It started off as Richmond Centre since 2013, and that was the first time I was elected, and I was lucky enough to be appointed as part of the cabinet, and I ran again in 2017. I was fortunate enough to be re-elected again, and for the past 3.5 years I'm serving as the opposition MLA for Richmond North Centre. And this time around I am thinking about running for the third term. So let me tell you a little bit about myself.
Please do.
Yeah, so I enter public service following years of experience in the private sector and also the mass media, the news media. I have quite a number of jobs because I have lots of experience, including working as the news director for the first ever multilingual TV station, including Punjabi, Mandarin, Cantonese, Tagalog, and Korean. And then I was the CEO and president of a multicultural broadcasting station here in British Columbia. And I was also the assignment editor for a daily Chinese language paper published in Richmond. In addition to that, I worked more than 5 years in the BC Provincial government in various positions, including working as executive director of a multiculturalism branch and also a communication advisor. And I graduated from University of Hawaii with a Master of Arts degree in communication. Our family emigrated to British Columbia more than 30 years ago. And my daughter studied in elementary and high school in public school. She graduated from UBC with a double degree. And my parents, they are all living with me, and they have been living in senior home several years ago. Unfortunately, my father passed away during COVID-19 earlier this year, and my mother is now living on her own in a long-term senior care home. So with my personal experience, I'm familiar with the public education system and also how challenging it is for seniors who have to live the remaining years of their life who need government support. So in my 7 years of my political career, so moments touch me from advancing the Richmond Hospital to Little Wings Daycare to helping those in need during this pandemic. Let me tell you a little bit about it.
Yeah, got a few seconds, so go ahead.
So I heard from my constituents and the hospital after I was elected in 2013 that Richmond Hospital, especially the acute care tower, is so old that they need a replacement. So I worked within the BC Liberal government and I talked at the cabinet, and eventually I am proud of myself that we've been able to advance the start of the project to replace the acute care tower in Richmond Hospital. That was in 2016 that we started the concept plan, and then we secured funding also for the business plan supposed to be start in the fall of 2017, but then the history told us that we were not elected. So, but unfortunately, even though NDP promised in the 2017 campaign that they will build this replacement tower, but after 3.5 years, even though John Horgan personally made 2 big announcements about the replacement, up to now, we still have not seen anything. The shovels are not on the ground, the Richmond Hospital is still there, no contracts are awarded. So this is the project that makes me feel that I need to run for another term because I know how much the hospital means to all the residents in Richmond.
I think what you've done is answer all three of my questions in one, which is wonderful because my last question was going to be talking about your vision going forward. Obviously, the hospital is a major part of that. A few seconds left. Can you list a few other things that you'd like to see take place or be implemented should you continue to win the seat?
The pandemic recovery is extremely important. Obviously, with the pandemic, we have to help the people, and it's important to jumpstart the economy. That's why with our BC Liberal Party, if we got the trust of the British Columbian to form the government, we will make sure that we take care of the health and the safety of British Columbia. At the same time, we need to jumpstart the economy because 1.2 million British Columbians, they have to depend on the federal's benefit to survive. And if we don't provide them jobs, our future is quite miserable. And BC Liberal has a good track record of knowing how to manage the economy. That's why we have decided to eliminate the PST for 1 year so that money can get back into the pockets of the everybody, and then we can help the small business, especially the tourism industry and the hospitality industry, to recover so that they can provide more jobs and so that the government can have more revenue. And this is extremely important. And other priority that I focus on is the premium mass created by NDP, from the ICBC, from your car insurance to the strata insurance. I have to make sure that I will fight for affordable premium for Richmond residents and British Columbians.
TERESA Watt is the incumbent Liberal candidate from Richmond North Centre. TERESA, thank you for taking some time away from candidate for your what you're doing campaigning right now. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate joining us here in the offices of the Richmond Sentinel is Henry Yao. He is the NDP candidate for Richmond South Centre. Henry, thank you for joining us.
Hi everyone, how are you guys doing tonight?
We're doing well, and thank you for taking the time. I know it's a busy time for all you candidates right now, so we appreciate you coming in. Okay, what we're doing with everybody is asking the same question as I've mentioned a number of times. So first we're going to start out, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well thank you so much for asking that question. My name is Henry Yao. As mentioned earlier, I'm a Richmond South Centre candidate for BC NDP. I grew up in Taiwan and immigrated with my family when I was about 11, and I'm very excited to come to Canada. I think the first joking comment one of the fond memories I had with my parents is as soon as we landed, my first question is, what does the air smell like? My father's response is, that's fresh air, son, that's fresh air. And ever since then, Canada has become my home, and Richmond is where I grew up and spent most of my adult life. I obviously am still a Richmond resident at this point, and I love the city. It's a very diverse and beautiful city itself. I spent all the time career-wise as a youth worker. About 2009 to 2014, I specifically worked at a City Centre Community Association as a youth worker, and I served Cook, Anderson, General Curry, Richmond Secondary, and McNeil. I'm very excited to see a lot of young adults growing up, finding an innovative way to make our city a better place. What else do you would like to know about me? I do like to exercise. As you can tell, sometimes when I get nervous, I speak really, really quickly. Even my parents have a hard time understanding me. I do speak Mandarin. My English is professional, at least I hope I am. And I'm really looking forward to serve Richmond and serve our provincial legislation and be a voice for Richmond South Centre.
We'll talk a little bit more about why you're running.
Okay. Well, I think I initially got involved in politics in 2014. And what I've learned from the municipal election experience is we actually are living in a city, although it looks very harmonious, very peaceful in the upfront, we actually have a lot of issues growing. And I think a lot of residents and a lot of folks can agree with me. We deal with a lot of racism as well as community conflicts. As individuals spent last 2014 to 2019 to 2020, I've been doing a lot of community volunteer work. I sit on a board for Vancouver Metropolitan Lions Club. I sit on a board for Richmond Food Security Society, Richmond Chinese Community Society, and I also sat on a board for actually quite a few more than I can remember on top of my head right now. And one of the things I really learned and really come to enjoy is for us to move forward, we have to move forward as a community. And we have to really explore various dialogue to understand what our voter really needs. But as I continue to get involved in politics and in the community, once I realized Richmond is falling short in many things. Again, I'm trying not to make this into a political video discussion. So I just want to say, I really was looking forward to help us advocate for our hospitals, advocate for our educations, and advocate for a lot of different services that's really helping us improve our community. I think one of the most memorable moments for us as a youth worker is working with fabulous youth workers in different high schools who are going out of their way to hunt down students who've been skipping classes, parents who are dealing with behavioral issues, and youth workers going out of their way to make sure the kids understand homework being assigned to them. When I saw they being removed from our school board due to lack of funding, that broke my heart. Those are individuals who understood the children's need, understood the youth needs, and finding different ways to work with the community in the least expensive and most productive manner to ensure our children and our youth have the best way and connected and don't fall off the track. That's the reason why I'm stepping up today, is we need to bring those services back. We need to help our community grow together, thrive together by investing in healthcare, education, housing, and childcare. Hopefully that answers my question.
You got all the answers to the questions. It's Henry Yao. He's the NDP candidate for the Richmond South Centre. Henry, thank you for taking time to join us today, and best of luck.
Thank you so much for your time.
You bet. Our next candidate is Alexa Liu. She is the Liberal candidate from Richmond South Centre. She is also a councillor with the City of Richmond. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Okay, same three questions we've been asking everybody. We will start the same three with you. Starting with you, tell us and our viewers more about yourself.
I'm Alexa Liu. I'm a two-time Olympian in the sport of snowboarding, parallel giant slalom snowboarding. I competed in 2006 and 2010. I'm a chartered accountant, a CPA CA. I trained with KPMG. I'm a mother of two boys. They're 7 and 8. And I've been a city councillor now for my second term, so 6 years. And with that, I've learned a lot with the City of Richmond. I've gained a lot of relationships and really created a strong foundation of knowledge of how the city works and how then relationships with the province will work in order to really get things done in Richmond.
We'll talk a bit about why you want to run. Is it an extension of council in terms of why you want to run?
Well, I've been on council now for 6 years. I also, in my snowboarding career, I had a lot of opportunity to serve the athletes in the governance capacity. So I really like governance and policy, and I'd like to take all those skills, move them forward to the provincial level, and really make some differences in Richmond. I think there are some opportunities to get some things done, and I think that with the BC Liberals, I'll be able to do that. The things I'd like to do are to get the Richmond Acute Care Tower built. I'd like to get the Massey Crossing tunnel sorted out. We need to get that crossing done, shovels in the ground, and people moving, families getting back to their families. I'd like to see real child care, real $10 a day child care implemented. I think families need those kind of supports, and that's really important to me, to increase affordability and get people working. In addition to childcare and making things more affordable for families, I think we also need to really start looking after our seniors better, and that's why the BC Liberal Party is going to be putting $1 billion over 5 years into looking after our seniors, into building those facilities. And I know personally, both of my grandmothers spent the last of their days at Rosewood Manor, and it was really good to have your grandmothers so close to you, so you could go in every single day and see your grandparents and know that they were looked after and know that they were cared for. And so it's really important to me that we're going to be building more facilities with private rooms so that there's infection prevention because they're kept safe, and that they're close to home so that you're able to go and visit them. On top of that, the BC Liberals will also have a $7,000 a year tax credit. So if you choose to keep grandma and grandpa at home with you, you can afford to do it that way, and that'll help you do that as well. So for me, growing up, knowing that my grandparents were looked after was really important. Now going forward, knowing that my children will be looked after, I've sent my children back to school, and I know that that was a really, really tough call for a lot of parents. And I think there was a lot of frustration in seeing the lack of options and the lack of leadership in how that was rolled out and getting back to school. And I'd like to be able to help the BC Liberals make sure that we have better programs and better systems in place and more understanding for families on what their options are and that they know their kids are going to be safe when they go back to school. I realize a pandemic is unusual, but there was plenty of time to prepare for it and to make sure people understood what their options were and how they could safely go back to school.
She's Alexa Liu, the Liberal candidate for Richmond South Centre. She is also a councillor with the City of Richmond. Alexa, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, we are back here to wrap things up where we started, and the man I started with, Alan Chen, is the Director of Operations for the Richmond Sentinel. We should also mention your business here in Richmond. A lot of great things, some good insight on these people today. I think we accomplished what we wanted to do, which is letting the viewers know more about who these people are. I know you made a few notes because you were over on the sidelines watching all the interviews. What are some of the consistent things that stood out to you, despite different people, different parties, different philosophies? What did you think?
Yeah, I was watching all the interviews, and it's actually quite interesting to see pretty much all the candidates. They all come back to a couple of main points that they are pushing forward, and they include the building of the hospital, the expansion of the hospital, education from childcare, even all the way up to post educations. Supports for small business, and one of the things that always brought up is the Massey Tunnel.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that seemed to cross the party lines, didn't it? One thing that, of course, hung over the entire event in terms of issues is COVID. You and I have talked about this, about how businesses altering, pivoting, maybe not surviving. You talk to a lot of business people here in Richmond with your business, but how are you finding people adapting out there?
It's tough. It really was. For a lot of businesses, things are changing. Things are not the same as before anymore, and a lot of the shop actually had to shut down. When we drive around Richmond now, we see so many for release sign, for to let sign out there. That kind of tells us that the retail and businesses are really not doing so great. Yeah. At the same time, there's also a group of businesses that are hanging on, that still got some power in them. And we want to help. We want to do whatever we can to support the community that has been giving us so much in the past so many years. And this is the time where a lot of those businesses are coming out and telling people that we are here to help.
Yeah. And of course, Alan, you're sitting across from me with many hats that you wear, including Director of Operations for the Richmond Sentinel. There are many places where people can find out more information, a little more on what we've done here, including publication right here with all the information on the candidates. Where else?
That's right. You can also find us on our website, YouTube channel, and as well as our Instagram channel.
That's right, of course, and its website is richmondsentinel.ca. Alan Chen, you started the show with me. You were here all day, and you wrapped things up with me. He is, of course, we mentioned, Director of Operations for Richmond Sentinel. We want to thank you all for watching. Please, as Alan was about to say, I'm sure,
remember to vote.
That's right. Get out and vote. It is a privilege and a right to do so, and thanks to everybody who watched.